In 1952, Washington airspace was among the most restricted in the world, yet unknown targets moved through it for hours. Civil aviation, military radar, and visual observers all documented activity. Something was watching us. In the summer of 1952, Washington, D.C. stood at the center of an unprecedented series of unidentified aerial sightings. The events unfolded during a broader wave of UFO reports across the United States. Newspapers were already documenting unusual radar returns and pilot encounters nationwide. Yet, what occurred over the nation's capital would elevate the subject from curiosity to front-page crisis, placing military authorities under intense public scrutiny. On the night of July 19, 1952, shortly before midnight, air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport detected several unknown targets on radar. The objects appeared southwest of the city and moved in ways controllers described as erratic. The returns were confirmed independently by radar operators at nearby Andrews Air Force Base. The simultaneous detections suggested that the phenomenon was not confined to a single instrument. Controllers reported that the targets did not follow standard flight paths. They appeared to hover, then accelerate abruptly. At times they moved slowly, at other moments they displayed speeds beyond conventional aircraft of the period. Importantly, no scheduled flights matched the radar plots. Efforts were made to identify possible civilian or military aircraft in the vicinity, but none corresponded with the unknown returns. Visual confirmations soon followed. Air traffic controller Edward Nugent reportedly observed bright lights in the sky corresponding to radar positions. Other personnel described similar luminous objects moving without navigation lights. The correlation between radar data and eyewitness observation intensified concern. It was not merely a technical anomaly. Multiple observers believed something tangible was present above the Capitol. The situation escalated when two U.S. Air Force F-94 Starfire jet interceptors were scrambled from Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware. As the jets approached Washington airspace, radar operators noted that the unidentified targets seemed to disperse. Pilots reported difficulty establishing visual contact. When the jets left the area due to fuel limitations, the radar targets reportedly reappeared. The events of July 19th to 20th concluded in the early morning hours. Military and aviation officials began internal reviews. Weather data indicated a temperature inversion that night, a condition known to affect radar performance. However, the multiple radar confirmations and visual sightings complicated straightforward explanation. Press interest intensified as details leaked into public view. 1 week later, on the night of July 26th, the phenomenon returned. Again, radar operators at National Airport detected unusual targets. Andrews Air Force Base independently tracked similar objects. The pattern appeared to mirror the prior weekend. Unknown returns, unconventional movement, and a lack of identifiable aircraft corresponding to the plots. This time interceptors were dispatched even quicker than the times previous. F-94 jets from Newcastle again approached the capital region. Pilots reported seeing lights, but were unable to close the distance effectively. Radar operators observed that the unidentified targets seemed to maneuver away from interceptors, then resume previous positions once the jets departed. The sequence repeated aspects of the earlier encounter. Civilian airline pilots also reported sightings. Captain S.C. Pierman of Capital Airlines described observing strange lights that did not resemble typical aircraft. Other flight crews corroborated similar experiences. These reports, coming from experienced aviators familiar with night operations, added credibility in the eyes of many observers. By late July, national headlines referred to flying saucers over Washington. Public pressure mounted for official clarification. On July 29, 1952, the U.S. Air Force held what became its largest press conference since World War II. Major General John A. Samford addressed the incidents, presenting the preliminary conclusion that temperature inversions likely caused unusual radar returns. Samford explained that supereffraction, an atmospheric condition bending radar waves, could produce false targets or distortions. He emphasized that no evidence indicated hostile intent or advanced foreign aircraft. While acknowledging the reports as serious, the Air Force framed the events as explainable within known meteorological phenomena. Sharp skepticism persisted all around. Some radar operators maintained that the targets behaved unlike typical inversion clutter. They pointed to sharp turns and rapid accelerations inconsistent with stationary atmospheric reflections. Critics questioned whether inversion alone could account for simultaneous visual sightings and radar tracking from separate installations. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigative program, classified the Washington sightings as unknown. Though later documentation leaned toward atmospheric explanation, the incidents remained among the most scrutinized cases in Blue Book's files. The Capitol's prominence ensured that archival records were extensive and frequently revisited. The 1952 Washington events occurred during the peak year of reported UFO sightings in the United States. That broader context influenced both media framing and governmental response. For some observers, the combination of radar and visual testimony suggested technological capabilities beyond known aircraft of the era. In the years that followed, researchers continued analyzing radar logs, weather reports, and witness testimony. Some independent investigators argued that inversion theory did not fully resolve the complexity of the encounters. Others maintained that atmospheric distortion remains the most plausible explanation given available evidence. Definitive resolution has never been universally accepted. The incident's chronology, from radar detection to jet interception and official briefing, remains carefully documented. Unlike many anecdotal UFO accounts, the Washington sightings involved trained observers, military response, and immediate press engagement. This layered documentation has sustained enduring interest among historians and researchers alike. Within the disclosure community, the 1952 flap is often cited as a pivotal moment when unidentified phenomena directly challenged controlled airspace over the U.S. Capitol. The fact that interceptors were scrambled and a formal press conference convened is viewed as institutional acknowledgement that something significant had occurred, regardless of explanation. In popular culture, the episode reinforced imagery of luminous discs hovering above monuments and government buildings. The phrase "Washington flap" entered UFO vocabulary. Archival newspaper photographs and headlines became enduring symbols of mid-century fascination with unidentified aerial phenomena. Some cool lesser-known details include reports that radar returns sometimes appeared to form geometric patterns before dispersing, though documentation is fragmentary. Additionally, some pilots later stated privately that they felt the objects demonstrated awareness of interception attempts. Such claims remain anecdotal, yet they contribute to the narrative texture surrounding the case. Nowadays, the 1952 Washington incidents are frequently referenced in modern discussions of unidentified aerial phenomena. As official investigations continue in contemporary times, historians often revisit that summer as an early example of radar visual correlation at scale. Whether interpreted as atmospheric anomaly or advanced craft, the events over Washington remain a defining chapter in the documented history of UFO encounters. In July 1952, radar confirmed unknown targets over Washington, D.C. Pilots saw lights, interceptors were scrambled, the Pentagon responded publicly. The official explanation pointed to atmospheric inversion, yet the layered documentation, multiple radars, trained observers, repeated patterns, remains part of the historical record. Something measurable occurred above the Capitol. The question that endures is whether that explanation fully accounts for the behavior described. So, belief does not require exaggeration, only attention to evidence. When events unfold over the most protected airspace in the nation and remain debated decades later, imagination and inquiry naturally follow. If the phenomenon was real enough to prompt jets and press conferences, it is real enough to examine carefully. Thank you for tuning in to They Are Watching Us. Stay safe, stay curious, and keep your eyes on the skies. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're as into UFOs and all that cool disclosure stuff as I am, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. It really helps me keep the good content coming your way on this super fascinating topic. Seriously, I appreciate it so much. Catch you later.